Hello, beautiful, and welcome back to another episode of Beautiful I Am Colored. My name is Evelyn, and this is a place where I share insights and perspectives that I've gained from my week, and I hope that it brings you hope and healing. And you'll also know right out the gate that I switched my music back to the original music because I tried to switch it up. Y'all know by now I'm a creature of habit. I tried to switch it up with some new music, but that music was so busy. It was just so busy that it was even distracting me. So here we go again, and we're going to go back to the music that I have been using for the past 2 years, and we'll just keep that until something else sticks out. So that's first. The second is if you are new here, also wanted to let you know that I am the author of the book titled Beautiful I Am Colored, which is still available on my website at beautifuliamcolored.com. And of course, I am the creator of this podcast, which started when I released my book, the year I released my book. Anyhow, each week I start with a segment I call shout outs and thank yous. And that's just a time where I shout out a person, place, thing, or idea. It's something that like I'm grateful for from my week. And the purpose of this segment is really just to kind of ground the content, ground my podcast in a moment of gratitude, because I do believe firmly that even when things get really rough, there's always at least one small thing that we all can be thankful for. And so I like to occasionally remind you that if you're at a place in your life where you can't find a single thing that you're thankful for, then allow me to be thankful for you until you get to the place where you see hope and light each and every day. Okay, so this week's shout out and thank you. The first one goes to a desk. Yes, you heard it right, a desk. So let me give you some context. So since the year started, due to unintended, or I should say unavoidable circumstances, I have been working remote since the year started for the most part. And, you know, my office at the house is in the basement, in the guest room. So part of this room in the basement, half of it is, you know, bed, nightstand, etc. And then the other half of the guest room is my office space. So, but it gets cold down there and it's dark because it's the basement. So we don't have, you know, the full size windows. And so a lot of light doesn't get in there. So one day I came upstairs. I think I was on a break or something. And Marlon comes in and he's like, "Hey, I got you a new desk." And I'm like, "What? Why'd you give me a new desk?" And then he was like, "Well, I noticed that, you know, you do like to come up because you like the light a lot. I know that about you. You like to see the sunlight. And I figured we could put this desk right in front of the window in our bedroom, so that way, you know, occasionally when you want to come up, you'll have, you know, a nice working space." Here's the clincher. One of our neighbors had put this desk. It's a very nice desk, by the way. People throw away really nice stuff. Anyways, it's a very nice desk. It's like the contemporary glass top desk, like the heavy tempered glass on the top. And it just looks wonderful right in the room. And I keep my little workstation nice and clean. But I'm so thankful for that desk because it has allowed me to, you know, experience more sunlight, which I'm so grateful for. So that's the first shout out and thank you for this week. The other shout out and thank you goes to the ability to be mobile, or I should say not just mobile, but to not have any hindrances associated with my life. Here's why I'm shouting that out. So earlier in the week, there was a special guest speaker at work, and they came to present on new legislation which, effective July 1st, requires us to have all of our documents digitized in a way that's accessible for all people. So, for example, some people, you know, are colorblind. Some people, you know, are maybe blind. And so this training, if you will, or overview, was to kind of just brief us on how we can make all of our digital documents accessible for all people. And it made me think about how blessed and fortunate we really are. I don't have to use a screen reader for work. I don't have to have, special keyboards or anything like that. And so it just really made me appreciative. And I appreciated learning a little bit more, because if you are not impacted by that, and if you're not a person who experiences that, it can just kind of go over your head about some of the things. And so I'm just thankful for abilities and all abilities at that. And I'm thankful for technology, which allows us to be inclusive of all people, all learning types. And so, that concludes this segment of shout outs and thank yous for this week. And I'm just going to forewarn you, I'm actually multitasking, so I decided to come get this car rinsed off. And so you will hear noise in the background if you haven't already, as I make my way to the front of the line at the car wash. Anyhow, getting back to the fair warning this week, I had a couple things that crossed my mind this week as far as like insight and perspectives that I want to share with you. And so I don't even know what I'm going to title this, because it's going to be a hodgepodge of my thoughts from this week, which has been a very interesting week. And so I will get into that in just a second. But before I get into that, I want to share a quick story with you that came up yesterday. So yesterday, I was watching. I've actually been binge watching This Is Us, because I guess whenever it was out, I just didn't have time to get into the show. I started the show when it was first released or whatever, but for whatever reason, that time and space of my life, I just didn't have capacity to watch it. So I've been binge watching it lately. And I was on the episode of This Is Us yesterday, where the character Kate gets jealous of her husband because she has just had a baby, and the husband is sneaking out. She finds out that the husband is sneaking out of the house to lose weight. So for those of you who don't know, Kate's character is morbidly obese. At the time that the show started, her husband played her character, husband Toby, also was what we would call in the South heavy set. We wouldn't call it morbidly obese, but hey, there we have it. So he was heavy set too. But over the course of their relationship, there have been some medical emergencies, and so he was really targeting his health. And, everyone started to notice, but it created this kind of jealousy in her because he was getting fit and she didn't necessarily have time because she was tending to the baby to take care of herself in that way, which prompted a conversation with me and Marlon Barnes. And so while I'm watching this episode, I was like, oh my God, babe, do you remember that year way back? It was 1990 something. Okay, I was still in high school. And I was working at Mega Market, which I believe at the time was on Oster Highway in Memphis, Tennessee. Anyway, Mega Market, this was like my first job, like outside of, babysitting or something like that. Because I had been making money. Like I was babysitting since I was 10, 11, 12, something like that. But anyhow, that's neither here nor there. So I'm at the Mega Market. I'm a cashier. I'm in my little checkout line, checking people out like how I do. And Marlon is in line with a rose, right? So he had popped up at my job to surprise me, but there was a customer or two in front of him, okay? So I'm smiling at the customer as a good customer service representative / cashier should do, and, engaging with them while I check out their groceries. And Marlon gets up to my cash register and has a complete and total meltdown, y'all. Do you hear me? Talking about why was I smiling at the customer? Why was I smiling at the customer? And then he slammed the rose, or actually I think it was 6 roses. He slammed the roses on my cashier checkout and left the store. He was so hot. And so I was talking to him about like how ridiculous that was and like why was he doing that? And we just laughed about it. He was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you remember that. I'm like, yes, I remember that because it was so stupid. And so that just prompted me to say that sometimes, like, the appearance of what's going on doesn't necessarily mean that that's actually what's going on. It wasn't no situation where I was flirting or nothing like that. I was just doing my job. But sometimes perception is reality, right? And so Marlon's perception is that, I was being too overly nice to the customer, which of course is ridiculous. But we had a good little laugh about that. And I was like, I have got to share this Mega Market story with the listening audience today because it was just so ridiculous. Oh boy. Thank God for advancing and getting older and wiser and, putting childish things aside. Anyhow, okay, the next thing I want to share with you this week, I told you guys it was going to be a hodgepodge, so I apologize in advance, but still, hopefully it brings you some hope and healing. But first, actually, I'm going to take a quick break because I am moving up in this car wash line. And so let me take a break, and I'll come right back and share what I feel like is going to be the meat of today's podcast. Be right back.
Okay, so some time has lapsed since the first segment of today's podcast, and I am now back home recording. And I think this is like the fourth time I've tried to record. Hence why I probably should have stayed in my car, but it's neither here nor there. Let me get right into it. But first, a quick correction. Earlier, I mentioned that Mega Market was on Austin P in Memphis, but if memory serves me correctly, I believe the actual street it was located on at the time because it's since closed. Is Covington Pike. Anyhow, earlier this week, I was so excited. Why was I excited? Actually, going back 2 weeks ago, I was excited because that's when I first found out that Marlon and I were going to have the house to ourselves for the whole weekend, right? The whole weekend, we're going to have the house to ourselves. So if you're new here, 2 of the 4 young adults are still here at the house, figuring some things out, like housing of their own one day, hopefully soon. Anyhow, needless to say, Marlon and I, we do not have many weekends or many days for that matter where we are here by ourselves. So I was really looking forward to it because one of the young adults had plans with their significant other. The other was going to be gone for the weekend on something else. And so I was super excited because, when the kids out of the house, grown folks do what grown folks do. So I was looking forward to it. But guess what? Okay, so Friday, I worked all day. Now, mind you, I just told you in the first segment that I've been working from home, so no big deal. It just means when time to quit, you just close your laptop, shut down for the day and go to the next part of your house, and there you have it. So Friday, I'm like all excited. Friday night was chill and cool. And so I was looking forward to, of course, starting the full weekend Saturday. So I wake up Saturday morning. Marlon and I take turns making coffee. Pretty much it's whoever gets up first and feels like it. That's who puts on the coffee. And so I was making my way to the kitchen to get my cup of coffee. Marlon was already up on the couch. And he gonna tell me, guess who here? And I was like, what you mean? Guess who here? I was like, you gotta be kidding me. So apparently one of the young adults' plans got canceled for whatever reason. And they were here for the whole weekend. The whole weekend, y'all. And I was just like, oh my God. I was just so looking forward to just having this weekend, just Marlon and myself doing what we want to do without any interruption, without hearing the door close, without hearing, the oven tink on or hearing the laundry go. If you have kids, no matter the age, I'm certain, can relate. The house is just different when it's just you and your significant other around. And so I was really disappointed, and that kind of sent me into like a little bit of a funk, to be honest with you. And so I've been trying to pull myself out of it this weekend, just the disappointment of it all. And, this podcast, I'm so thankful for the accountability of this podcast because it really, truly forces me to every week I have to every week because it's part of my platform, find something. Like I have to find a snippet of something, to be grateful for. So I'm so thankful for this podcast because honestly, had it not been for that today, I might just still be in a funk. But the bright side of it is, as I was talking to you earlier, even though this is a recording, when I was talking to you earlier, I could feel, myself coming out of it because I was like, man, so often, especially, here in the States, you know, we complain about stuff that just kind of don't really matter in the grand scheme of things. And so in talking to you in the first segment about, accessibility and the digitalization of the documents that are required on my the place where I work, and, just sharing with you, what I'm thankful for, it really kind of brought me back to center. And so I just made up in my mind, like, you know what? We still have the weekend, we still have today. I'm about to fire me up a cigar in a little bit. I'm going to go in that little cigar box and get me a good one today and go do one of my favorite things in the world, which is sit on this back patio. And I might drink a beer with it too. You know what I'm saying? It's the small things. So I said all that to say that sometimes, the little things, the little hiccups, they happen to us all, and life is full of disappointments. You are not going to be disappointment free, your life. And so it is my hope, as always, to just be transparent with you and what I'm going through, and also to provide you with some things to think on. You know what I'm saying? Like maybe you had a week at work last week and, you just need to just breathe deeply and not find in a place where you can breathe in and out deep. I get that. Totally get that. But can I encourage you, as I encourage myself, let's find those small things that really fuel us, bring us life, and get to that and focus on that, And I often, or I should say not often, but occasionally remind you that sometimes that means you have to turn, social media off, for a little bit, a day or two, and just, tune into self or tune into people in real life rather than, be sucked into the machine of technology. Anyhow, I hope that what I've shared with you brings you a sense of hope and healing, and perhaps maybe even a little bit of laughter. I pray that each and every one of you have an amazing week this week. I know that I am going to make a very concerted effort to do that on behalf of myself. And until next week, remember, the future you is waiting on you.